That was guitarist Chris Standring from the UK. I think he lives in California now. And the song was called Please Mind the Gap. I will. And we'll talk about the gap between Linux usage percentage and the real usage. I think there's something funny going on around here with those numbers. Well, good evening. If you are new here, hello. This is Total OS Today, Total Technology for beginners and beyond. Actually, this is more of what I call tech-tainment. I do technology talk and entertainment. I do these random live shows, well, at random times. So if you haven't already subscribed, please do. Click the notification bell. And if you would like to sponsor a live show, then we'll set a day and the time convenient for both of us. How does that sound? That sounds fabulous. So, hope you guys are all having a wonderful summer in this side of the world. It's been hot this week. Well, last 2 weeks, actually. Humid. Finally hit the pool yesterday after the summer's almost over almost. But anyway, glad to hit it. Good exercise, and it's a lot of fun and relaxing. So hope you guys have been able to enjoy summer also. All right, so for tonight, we'll talk 3 topics. We'll talk about Linux usage passing 10%. We'll talk about the next Ubuntu called Stinkray. Well, I hope it doesn't stink. Stinkray. Maybe I had too much wine tonight. What's it called? Stonkin' Stingray. Yeah. And we'll talk Googlebooks. Perhaps the biggest Linux user of the year, at least in my opinion. Alright, so give me a minute here to get situated. Alright, nobody in the chat, so I guess we can continue. And I turned the music down. I don't think that you can hear it. Anyway, there was a stat recently that I took a look at. Is Linux usage really 10%? I don't think so. Of all the people I know here locally, and that would be about, let me just take a guess, between friends and neighbors, let's say like 100 people. Okay, small town, people kind of know each other. I know one person who uses a Chromebook, a Linux-powered Chromebook, and that's it. That's the only person I know for sure that uses Linux anything. So one out of 100 is, well, I guess that's 1%. I guess, duh. Now I know that's not a big representative sampling of total Linux usage. I get it, but I don't know. With the economy and all of that, Chromebooks remain the only affordable Linux-powered machines out there for the masses. Still, in spite of rising RAM costs and everything else with computers, and I just don't see the 10% usage or plus jumping so much since in the last couple of months. And I think this is the result of AI bots. And how can I say this? AI bots enhancing the numbers, if you know what I mean. So is Linux usage really 10% or more? All I can say is get real. I don't think so. It would be great if it is actually true. Maybe it is. I'm willing to have an open mind, but my guts tell me forget about it, as we used to say in New York. It's probably closer to 5%. That's my guess. You guys tell me. Alright, so the next news is the next evolution of Chrome OS and the Chromebook called Googlebook, and those should be, I'm guessing those should be arriving maybe next month. So it's the next, really, these will probably replace the Chromebooks as we know it, if I had to guess. And this is really a combination a merged version of Android and Chrome OS, unemulated Android apps via the Google Play Store. And this is really a long time coming, since there are, I don't know how many billions of Android phones out there. This kind of makes sense. The question is the pricing. With the RAM shortage now and all that, and the current state of the economy, computer prices have jumped. I'm guessing between 30 and 50%, maybe more. I know it sounds crazy, but this is it. This is the next evolution of the Chromebook, and of course the Linux-powered Gen 2 powered Chrome OS. It remains to be seen how these are going to sell, but I think these will be close to $1,000 to compete with the MacBook, and that might be a hard sell. I can see starting at $500 maybe. I have a Chromebook. They are fantastic, zero maintenance, never had anything break, malware, never have to use the terminal. Probably the easiest Linux machine you will ever have to use. And I'm guessing most people who buy a Chromebook don't even know it's Linux powered. And that's okay. As long as it works and they're happy and their family can use it, that's really what it's all about. But again, for me, the biggest Linux use for this year has to be the evolution of, well, the Chromebook and going into that turning into a Googlebook. Remains to be seen how long Chromebooks will be around. If Google will even make them, I don't know. But I will be curious about this one. Alright, the last thing I wanted to talk about is the next Ubuntu's stonkin' Stingray, not stinkin' Stingray. Yeah, I hope it does not stink. 26.10 Ubuntu. That should be released in a couple months. I guess there is a new feature, a certification check, which should come in handy. Now, I haven't looked at it yet, but I believe this is under settings. You click about, and there should be a certification status to see if, well, I guess if your computer is certified, to see if it'll work well with the latest Ubuntu. And there's probably some other information there. Again, I have not tested this yet. And there are other features coming, such as the next GNOME desktop, which would be 52, 53. I kind of lost track. I'm actually doing this live show here with Ubuntu 2604. But anyway, if this actually works, this should help a lot of newbies to see if just how compatible their hardware is, to avoid any potential problems and avoid using the terminal, which what you Windows users are telling me you hate having to use the terminal. And in this day and age, I don't blame you. If you have to use the terminal to use Linux, yeah, you may want to move on. And like I said, with the Chromebook, you don't have to use the terminal. So the Ubuntu certified check will be a feature coming up in the next Ubuntu. Okay. I am done drinking wine for this evening, but let me jump in the chat and see if anybody's here. Boy, I miss doing these live shows on the weekend. Anyway, let me go switch my screen here, see who's in the chat. And we have, Stevie boy! Steve's very own is in the house. Good evening, sir. He says a certifiable check makes sense with Linux users. Yeah, if no one's gonna buy, or no one's interested in buying a Chromebook, and want to download a version of Ubuntu and lessen the issue of potential problems, the certified check, if it actually works, Steve, it kind of makes sense. It would be a shame if somebody downloaded Ubuntu or Linux Mint or whatever and they had issues, and right away the user says, oh, Linux sucks. Well, even though that would be understandable, that would not be a fair statement, obviously. And this is just one shortcut way to lessen the impact of potential problems. If the user, the buyer, is not interested in buying a Linux-powered Chromebook. I used mine last week for the public screening, the first premiere screening of my dad's film, The Value of Life, and the Chromebook performed flawlessly. No issues whatsoever, just perfect. That is the power of Linux, sometimes. Of course, if you download a form of Linux and you have issues, then yeah, that's a different ballgame. But yes, the Ubuntu certified, check. In the next Ubuntu, if it actually works, should make the transition easier for Windows users. And I hope it does work. But so far, with the Ubuntu 2604 I'm using, in an HP with the Ryzen processor, I have to give them credit. I have not noticed any issues, and I have not had to use the terminal once to fix anything, period. And I don't think that's ever happened before. Well, at least not lately. Yeah, Steve says, I'm thinking more towards being certifiable to use Linux. Well, yeah, sometimes that is absolutely true. It's not for everyone, right? But you know what, Steve? Some forms of Linux have gotten better over the years. And you know this. You look, there are about, if you count all the forks, 1,000 Linux-based systems, and maybe you can count the one hand the ones that are really good to compete with your Windows and MacBooks of the world. You know, and I'm going to put Linux Mint in that, and Zorin, and of course the Chromebook. But it's gotten better. The fragmentation is still a problem. That's why I still can't buy or see a Linux Mint machine or an Ubuntu machine in my local Walmart, but that's okay. I'm happy with Ubuntu 2604. It's at least with AMD graphics, no issues with the Wayland display driver. I understand it's still not quite ready for NVIDIA graphics. I don't have that, not yet. I have looked at newer computer prices with NVIDIA, and I would have to put up a second mortgage to buy the computer. So thank you, President Pendejo, for the current state of the economy. And you guys who don't speak Spanish, you can look that up. Boy, what a mess. Anyway, Steve, how are you? Yeah. So that is my current situation here. So very happy with the latest Ubuntu and my HP computer with AMD graphics. If there is anybody else in the chat watching and would like to say hello or have a question, you can do so anonymously. This is why I do these shows at random times for people who live in different time zones and would love to meet new people. I've always enjoyed this, and that's what keeps me going. I've been doing this quite a few years now, and it's fun when I meet new people. Besides someone certifiable like Steve. But boom. Psh. Anyway, you know, I usually start these shows with the joke, and I forgot. So here it goes. I had to break up with my Asian girlfriend. Yeah, I had to dump Ling. You know, because her name was Ling, and okay. Anyway, that's the joke. Alright, I will stick around for a few more minutes, and unless somebody else jumps in the chat, I think I'll wrap it up. I got a long day tomorrow. A couple doctor appointments, nothing serious. And maybe have dinner with the son and all that. Steve says warming up a pasta, bowl of pasta fagioli, pasta and beans. Alrighty. Very good. Yep, I already had my dinner Had a glass of wine. Feeling good. No storm tonight. Maybe later. I was looking at cell phones. I got this one that's a couple years old. It's a Samsung Galaxy A25. It's really not that old, but I get bored so easy with phones lately. I mean, I have a couple of laptops. I seldom use that, so it's either my cell phones, or my desktop. You know what's strange? My 2022 Moto Edge runs faster than the Samsung Galaxy. Well, of course it stopped receiving updates, but it still works very well. You mowed the lawn today? Yeah, brutal 90 plus. Yeah, it's I try to do mine either in the morning or in the evening. I don't mind mowing the lawn as a workout. That keeps me from going to the gym or going jogging and all that. But I try to do it when not in direct sunlight. I mean, I don't want to get sunburned either, but yeah, when you do it in 90 humidity, you're gonna sweat. But I will tell you this: when I do that, or if I do that, I sleep better at night because I'm so zonked out. It's definitely a workout. Yeah. Now, in my situation with the property I have, last week because it rained, it stopped, it rained, it stopped, it rained, and stopped, it ticked me off. I just I did 1/3 one night. I did the second third the second morning, and then I finished it up the third day. So I cut 1/3 each day. I don't care. I did it between rain. So I mean I don't use gas. I have a battery powered Cobalt mower, and it's great. No gas. I think I've done donating to the gas companies. I mean, I still have a car, but 2 showers today. Yeah, sometimes I'll do that. But yeah, if it rains, it stops, and rains, it stops, or knowing that it's not going to rain, I'll just split the grass cutting into 2 or 3 days. It works for me as long as it gets done. But I like to do it all in one day if it's not going to rain and not too hot. But yeah, that's a lot for me to cut, especially on a hill on a slant. It's more work, but it beats going to the gym. Steve, are you still doing Endeavor OS? You use 3 lawn bags? Yeah, I either mulch or I'll dump the clippings. I have in the back of my house, I have a tree, right? And I have these groundhogs or ground moles, and they have holes. They dug a bunch of holes, so I dumped the grass clippings in the holes. I probably piss them off, but there's like a section by the tree. I just dump all the grass clippings there, and I don't have to use any bags. So they dig the holes, I'll plug them up. Anyway, yeah. I'm curious to see how much that cordless lawnmower is. I bought that during COVID, that Cobalt, and it was like $250 with a single battery. I really needed a second battery. I found that later. That was an extra $100, which is ridiculous. But no maintenance, no gas, no oil changes, no smell, no noise. It's It's worth it. You looked at Linux Mint, yeah. I mean, they offer what, Mate Desktop, XFCE, Debian, and Cinnamon. I mean, they give you 4 different customization choices. I like Mate. It's a throwback to the GNOME 2 look, and you know what? It just works. It's not slick. It's not meant to be, but it just works. Just no headaches, and that's me. Simple, you know. Keep it simple. I mean, these guys have been doing it now, what, almost 20 years? Team Linux Mint. They must be doing something right. So, and that's what I have on my Dell right now. And yeah, I like to keep it simple. I suppose if you want something more slicker looking for newbies, I guess Zorn might be the next one to go with. But I still like Linux Mint. And if someone is a little bit more advanced, then Ubuntu will probably work fine with AMD graphics. All right, well, I think we will wrap this up for this evening. I'm going to chill and call it a night. Steve, it's always great to be chatting with you. And let's see, you say Mate, never XFCE, only when the have to. Cinnamon has its own issues with power use, that is, can't beat Endeavor OS, or it is as bad as Mint. I will never, ever use anything Arch based if that's Endeavor, period. Tried it once, it was horrible. And you know what, I don't mind using the terminal. I learned a lot, but yeah, less time fixing, more time for me. So the Mate Desktop, it's hard to beat simplicity. It really is. XFCE, it's okay. I think it looks older than Mate personally. Cinnamon I don't use, Steve, so I can't really speak to that. It looks pretty cool, but I've had the least amount of issues, or most comfortable with the Linux Mint Mate Desktop, because it just works. I seldom use any customization. Sometimes I'll download a dock. Well, it's called the Cairo dock, I do believe, but I just with Linux, it all comes down to the 3 S's: stability, speed, and the last thing on my list is special looks. Because if it ain't stable and fast, do you really care how it looks? Looks, you can't judge a book by its cover, right? So that's how I see it. All right, well, that's it for tonight. Steve, thank you so much. We'll have to do a live, I think I mentioned it once, call it the Senior Linux, Senior Tech Podcast or something. You've been on Arch-based Endeavor OS and had one issue. Only one issue. Well, you have the Linux Angels on your side. Because the last time I tried Arch-based, not going to do it. And I will never recommend Arch for a newbie. Never do it, because If I do that, you know they're going to say, Arch, Linux sucks. Well, okay. If you're going to tell Arch to a new person, new Linux, yeah, well, yeah. But then whose fault is that? You who recommended or the person using it, right? But yeah, especially now with the rampant hacking of the AUR, the Arch useless repository, as I called it 10 years ago. Not going to do it. At least, when this channel caters to, 1 billion plus Windows users who at one point may want to consider trying Linux, just cannot recommend them to use Arch. Too many potential issues. They're better off with Ubuntu based at this point, or maybe Debian based. Anyway. Alright, Steve, thank you. Everybody else, sorry I missed you guys, but you guys know how to reach me if you'd like to ask a question or whatever. And I'll catch you on the next one. And that's it. Be safe, have fun. Arrivederci.